Well, hi everyone, my name is Colin Steed. I'm a professional artist and I work from my studio here in Essex in the UK. Today I'll be looking at how to paint a simple building with a water reflection. I'm painting another wet into wet sky, so I've completely damped the paper, but I'm leaving some areas unpainted. That will be the cloud formations. But other than that, and I'm painting around the building, leaving the building white paper. Now I'm adding alizarin crimson to that blue to create a purpley blue for the undersides of the clouds, and I'm letting that run in a wet into wet fashion. Right the way over the horizon itself. A very strong mix of cobalt blue and alizarin crimson to make a blue purpley mix is used to drop in to the hills in the distance, and they should naturally grow up into that sky. Now I'm painting the trees all around and grasses all around the building, starting off with a very light wash of cobalt blue and cadmium yellow. Now I'm going to let all those wet washes completely dry. I'm painting a mix of raw sienna and alizarin crimson, more alizarin crimson than raw sienna, to create the wash for the roof and chimney. I've now painted all of the brickwork around the walls with a mix of raw sienna with a touch of alizarin crimson this time, and I've picked around the door and all of the windows because they will be white window frames. Now I'm painting the dark trees that could be in shadow actually from clouds along the horizon line. While I have this dark mix, I'm going to paint a conifer. Using the point of the brush, come down the center, and sort of like the way that you've got to have an uneven edge on the outside and a nice dense area in the center. I'm picking my way all around the building and trying to get that overhang. Normally get where the gutter hangs. That's a crucial area when you're painting dark trees around a light building. Now I'm going to apply that to the hedge that stands in front of the right hand side of the building, and there again I'm picking around, working my way down, and I'm finishing just away from that area there. I want a bit of light there, but the main thing is picking around the building and of course getting a jagged outside edge to give. Now I have a mix of cadmium yellow with cobalt blue there, just a touch of cobalt blue to start, and a pretty dry brush. See the way it's chiseled up, so there's not too much moisture on the brush, but I've picked up a lot of paint. And with that flat edging to the brush, you just drag across the paper like that. That's the light side, this is the darker side. That's the light side, this is the darker side. We have a dark side there running down into the bank area along there, and we have a bank area there. I'm going to use the same mix for indicating just the slope of that bank. That's all you need, just one or two little marks just to indicate that bank slopes down into the water's edge. Now the easy way to paint windows with a dark mix of alizarin crimson and Windsor blue, I'm painting, leaving white around the edge, painting down and across the top, leaving a gap down and across the top, leaving a gap down and across the top, and that way gives an impression of light coming from the left hand side. The door goes in a very similar way, down the left and across the top. Now I'm laying a very wet wash of shadow on that gable end, and I'm painting right over the windows, leaving a little bit here and there, but mainly on the windows, and finishing along that bottom edge. Now this shadow mix, which is raw sienna, alizarin crimson and Windsor blue, goes across the overhang under the gutter, because you've got to remember there'll be an overhang there, and the chimney, right hand side of the chimney, like that, and it's a little bit where the chimney bricks around the top protrude, so there's a bit of shadow under there, and then there's a little bit of shadow running up the roof, which there would be. The same mix is used for across the top of the windows on the ground floor and down the left hand side again, just to enhance the Fernlov light coming from the left, down the left hand side of both those windows too, and down the left hand side of the door, plus a touch of the door frame, because that would also be in shadow. Now I'm putting some darker shadow on the right hand side of that tree there, and to the left hand side of the building, as if there's another little shrub, just keeping that area dark. You can see how that lightens up the sunlit and the shadow area, because that shadow is lighter than the tree shadow, so the building shadow is lighter than the tree shadow. Now I mixed all of those colours that I had on the palette with plenty of water for my light wash over the water to start with. Now I'm using this very wet wash as a base colour to damp the paper. Can you see where that's quite grey, because it's got all of those colours mixed in? Just work my way down to the foreground. I've added Windsor blue to the mix as I've come into the foreground, because that reflects the sky above. And while that's still damp, I'm putting in a mix of Windsor blue and raw sienna to indicate the bank. So this is going in while it's still damp. That's the trick to this. Notice I'd see the reflection of the bank there, but I wouldn't see it here because it's standing in front of us. Just while that's still wet, if you can, put in a slightly darker tone on the gable end reflection. Now with the dark blue, you create ripples in amongst that, so that gives an impression that it's blended as a reflection rather than an image. As you go off away to the distance, you just use the point of the brush just to put the odd little ripple here and there.